My name is Mia Anderson. I'm 34 years old, and I work as a procurement manager for a hotel group in Manchester. My life has always followed structure. Early mornings, supplier calls, clean spreadsheets, gym after work, home by 7. I don't like chaos. I don't make impulsive decisions. I verify things before I act. That was true long before Daniel. Daniel Hayes is 31, my boyfriend. Or at least he was. We had been together for almost 4 years, living together for most of that time in a flat I leased in Castlefield. On paper, everything made sense. We split expenses unevenly because I earned more. I covered rent and utilities, he handled groceries, smaller costs, and most of the decorating choices. From the outside, it looked stable. Daniel had a way of making things look smooth, confident, charming, quick with words. The kind of man who could walk into any room and immediately control the energy. People liked him. I used to think that meant something. Lately, it felt more like performance. I'm posting this because what happened after our last argument was strange enough that even now, I'm not sure whether I handled it correctly or just efficiently. Daniel had a pattern. Not constant, not obvious at first, but consistent enough. If something didn't go his way, he didn't stay on the issue. He shifted. Sharp comments, personal digs, pulling in unrelated things, making the conversation ugly, then acting like I was cold for not engaging. That night, it started over something that sounded small and wasn't. We were supposed to finalize a deposit for our wedding venue that weekend. I had already told him twice I wanted to review the contract before sending anything. There were penalty clauses for date changes. He said I was treating a wedding like a procurement deal. I told him a contract is still a contract, even if flowers are involved. That was enough. His tone changed instantly. He accused me of stalling, said I was secretly unsure about marrying him. I told him that wasn't true and asked him to stay on topic. That's when it shifted. He said I made everything feel like admin, that living with me felt like being managed by middle management. I remember the exact moment I stopped trying to fix the conversation. I told him calmly, if he wanted a real discussion, fine, but I wasn't going to sit there while he tried to win by being cruel. That's when he grabbed his coat, stood by the door, said he needed space. I told him, take the evening, cool off. We can talk tomorrow. He didn't respond. He just left. About 10 minutes later, my phone lit up. I'm staying at my ex-girlfriend's place tonight. Deal with it. I read it once, then again, then a third time. Not because it was unclear, because it was very clear. It wasn't vague. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't sent in confusion. It was precise, deliberate, designed to land exactly the way it landed. I didn't call him. I didn't text back. I just sat there for a moment, looking around the flat, thinking about the fact that he had chosen those words very carefully. And then I made a decision. If he wanted me to deal with it, I would. By midnight, I wasn't waiting for him to come back. I was making a list. I did exactly what Daniel told me to do. I dealt with it. Not emotionally, logistically. I slept fine that night. Because once someone crosses a certain line, the decision stops being complicated. Daniel knew exactly what he was doing when he sent that message. It wasn't about space. It was about impact, about forcing a reaction. Jealousy, panic, a call, a fight, something. Instead, it gave me clarity. And clarity is quiet. The kind that doesn't argue. The kind that just acts. I woke up at 6 o'clock the next morning like I always do. No alarm needed. Routine has a way of holding, even when everything else shifts. For a few seconds, I lay still, staring at the ceiling, letting the memory of the message settle again in my mind. I'm staying at my ex-girlfriend's place tonight. Deal with it. It still sounded the same. Deliberate, controlled, final. I got up, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. The list I made the night before was still open. Clean, ordered, simple. No emotions attached to it, just steps. The first item was the wedding venue. We had been speaking with them for about 3 weeks. Daniel had been pushing to secure it quickly, worried we might lose the date. I opened the email thread, scrolled through the contract one more time, not because I needed to, because that's what I do before I finalize anything. Then I wrote a short reply. Polite, neutral, final. I explained that we would not be proceeding with the booking and thanked them for their time. No explanation, no drama. Just a decision made before any money left my account. I sent it. One line on the list completed. Next was the photographer. Same process, same tone. We would not be moving forward. Then the florist inquiry Daniel had sent using my email. Closed. Caterer. Closed. By the time I finished my second cup of coffee, the entire wedding planning process had been quietly dismantled. No deposits paid, no contracts binding, no expectations hanging in the future. It was strange how fast something that took months to build could be undone in less than an hour. I didn't pause to reflect on that. Reflection comes later. Action comes first. The next item was the ring. The engagement ring had been purchased from a jeweler in the city center. Their receipt clearly stated a 30-day return window for a significant refund, as long as the ring was in original condition. We were still within that window. I took the ring box from the drawer and placed it on the kitchen counter. For a moment, I just looked at it, not with hesitation, just observation. 3 years together, reduced to a small velvet box. What struck me wasn't sadness. It was how calm I felt. That calm had a reason. The message. That one line from Daniel had removed all ambiguity. This wasn't about one argument. It wasn't about stress or timing or misunderstanding. It was about how he chose to handle conflict. Escalation, maximum impact, introducing another woman, his ex, into the situation like a tool that doesn't disappear after marriage. It grows. I picked up the box, slipped it into my jacket pocket, and checked the time. 8:30. The jeweler opened at 9 o'clock. I left the flat without looking back. The city felt normal. People moving, shops opening, traffic building. Nothing about the outside world reflected what had already ended inside mine. I arrived just before opening, sat in the car for a minute, then went in as soon as the doors unlocked. I was the first customer. The woman behind the counter recognized me almost immediately. Not surprising. I had spent nearly an hour there choosing the ring. She smiled. Back so soon? How did the proposal go? There was a pause, a small one. Then I placed the ring box on the counter. It didn't work out. Her expression shifted, not dramatically, just enough to register understanding. She didn't ask anything else. Just checked the receipt, inspected the ring, and confirmed the refund. Professional. Efficient. The way I preferred things. Most of the amount will be back on your card within 3 to 5 business days, she said. I nodded. The entire interaction took maybe 10 minutes. When I stepped back outside, the air felt different, not lighter. Just clearer. One more loose end removed. I drove straight to work. Fridays are always busy. Suppliers confirming deliveries before the weekend. Calls. Emails. Numbers. For a few hours, I barely thought about Daniel at all. Work has a way of demanding attention. At around 11:30, my phone buzzed. Daniel. I let it ring. Then again, 30 seconds later. Then a third time. Then a text. Are you seriously ignoring me right now? I finished the email I was writing before I picked up the phone. Read the message. There was nothing in it that resembled accountability. No acknowledgement of what he had said the night before. Just irritation. As if I was the problem. A few minutes later, another message came through. I hope you enjoyed your quiet night because I didn't sleep well at all. Still nothing. No mention of the ex. No explanation. Just discomfort. Redirected. I stared at the screen for a moment, then typed a simple reply. Morning, I'm at work. The typing indicator appeared almost immediately. Good, because we need to talk about your attitude last night. I leaned back in my chair. Read that line again. Daniel had spent the night at his ex-girlfriend's place, announced it like a weapon, and the conversation he wanted to have now was about my attitude. That told me everything. He still thought he controlled this situation, and he had no idea what I had already done. Another message came in. I'll be home later. Don't start acting weird when I get there. I turned the phone face down on my desk and went back to work. Because when Daniel walked through that door that evening, the first thing he was going to notice was that something in the flat was missing, and it wasn't subtle. I got home around 6 o'clock that evening. The flat was quiet. Daniel wasn't there yet. That didn't surprise me. When he got into one of his moods, he liked to make entrances. Staying out late after an argument wasn't about space. It was about timing, control, creating just enough tension so he could walk back in and reset the narrative on his terms. Normally, I would have spent that time waiting, replaying the argument, preparing for another round. This time, I used it differently. Earlier that afternoon, I had stopped by a hardware store near the office, bought a stack of medium moving boxes, packing tape, nothing dramatic, just the kind of things people use when they're relocating. When I got home, I started packing Daniel's things. Not everything, just what was clearly his. His clothes from the hallway wardrobe went first. Shirts, jackets, shoes. I folded them carefully, placed them into boxes. No rushing, no anger, just sorting. After that, the bathroom shelf. His toiletries, shaving kit, bottles he always left slightly open, wrapped everything so nothing would spill. The process was methodical, almost quiet in a way that felt unfamiliar. By the time I finished the bedroom drawers, 4 boxes were sealed, lined neatly against the living room wall. I stood there for a moment, looking at them. Then I walked back into the bedroom. There was one more thing, the engagement photo on the shelf. I picked it up, looked at it briefly. We both looked certain in that picture. That version of us didn't exist anymore. I placed the frame into the last box, closed it. Around 7:15, I heard keys at the door. The lock turned. Daniel walked in, carrying his overnight bag. He started talking before he even stepped fully inside. You wouldn't believe the traffic this morning, and I had to stop by work because apparently nothing functions without me fixing it. He stopped. Mid-sentence, his eyes landed on the boxes, 4 of them, stacked neatly beside the couch. Silence. His gaze shifted slowly from the boxes to me. Mia, what is this? I closed my laptop, stood up. Your things. He stared at the boxes again, like his brain needed a moment to process what he was seeing. Why are my clothes in boxes? Because you said you were staying at your ex-girlfriend's place. The room went completely still. Something in his expression changed. Confusion, then disbelief. Mia, stop. Seriously, what are you doing? I leaned lightly against the counter. I canceled the wedding plans this morning. The words didn't hit immediately. There was a delay. Then, you did what? Now it was landing. The shift. The realization that this wasn't a reaction. It was a decision. Daniel stared at me, waiting for a smile, a correction. Something that would pull this back into something manageable. It didn't come, and I watched the exact moment something inside him snapped. Are you serious right now? His voice jumped, sharp, loud. You packed my things? I nodded once. You said you were staying somewhere else. He dropped his bag on the floor with a heavy thud. Oh my God, Mia, you cannot be this dramatic. He moved toward the boxes, ripped the tape off the top one, like he expected to prove something. Inside, everything was folded, organized, exactly as I packed it. His hands paused. Then he turned back to me. You actually did this? Yes. You packed my stuff like I'm being kicked out? You told me you were staying somewhere else. That is not the same thing, and you know it. He started pacing. Fast, tight circles, energy building. I left for one night because you were being impossible, and you respond by canceling the wedding and boxing up my life? Someone who takes you seriously when you say you're staying with your ex. That sentence landed hard. Like fuel. His face flushed instantly. You cannot just cancel a wedding because you're having a tantrum. I didn't cancel a wedding. I canceled the deposit. He threw his hands up. Oh my God, listen to yourself. He pointed at the boxes. This is insane. This is actually insane behavior. His breathing was sharper now. Short bursts. I went to Chloe's place to cool off. That's what adults do when their partner is acting like a robot. I watched him carefully. You didn't say you were cooling off. He stopped. I picked up my phone. You said you were staying at your ex-girlfriend's place and told me to deal with it. For a second, it looked like he might argue the wording. Then, because you were supposed to react. His voice cracked across the room. You were supposed to call me or get mad or do something. There it was. Not confusion. Expectation. You don't get to drop something like that and then pack my life into boxes like I'm being evicted. You made a statement. I responded to it. He laughed. Sharp. Disbelieving. You have completely lost your mind. I shook my head. No. For the first time that evening, I was completely certain I hadn't. He kept pacing. Faster now. This is unbelievable. 4 years together, and you're throwing everything away because I spent one night somewhere else? You didn't say somewhere else. My voice stayed even. You said your ex. He rolled his eyes. Oh my God, stop repeating that like it matters. It matters. Nothing happened. That's not the point. Of course it is. His voice spiked again. You're acting like I cheated when I literally slept on a couch. You made sure to tell me whose couch it was. He opened his mouth, paused, then shifted, like he always did when a point stopped working. Fine, we're both angry. Clearly this has gotten out of hand. He gestured toward the boxes. So unpack my things and stop being ridiculous. No. The word landed clean, heavy, final. He blinked. What do you mean, no? I mean, you should take your things tonight. His expression changed instantly. Mia, stop. You're not thinking clearly. I am. You can't just throw your boyfriend out over one argument. I didn't throw you out. You said you were staying somewhere else. He let out a short, sharp laugh. So what now? You expect me to move in with Chloe? That's not my decision. That was it. Whatever restraint he had left snapped. This is insane. You're insane. He pointed at the boxes again. You canceled the wedding. You packed my life into boxes over one stupid fight. It wasn't the fight. I looked at him directly. It was the message. He shook his head, like rejecting the idea physically. You're blowing this up on purpose. Tomorrow you're going to feel like an idiot. I walked to the door, opened it. Take the boxes. Daniel stared at the open door like it wasn't real. Like if he stood still long enough, the situation might reset itself. It didn't. Mia, stop. I didn't respond. I picked up the first box and set it outside in the hallway. The sound of it landing was soft. Final. Mia, seriously. Second box, placed beside the first. His voice started to rise again. You can't do this. Third box. This time he stepped forward like he might stop me, then hesitated. Because something about my silence made it clear this wasn't a negotiation. Fourth box. I stepped back inside, held the door open. You should go. For a second, he just stood there, breathing harder now, processing. Then the anger came back. Fast. Explosive. You've completely lost your mind. His voice echoed into the hallway as he grabbed the first box. This is insane. Do you hear yourself? I didn't answer. I stepped forward, guided him out into the corridor, closed the door behind him. The sound of the lock clicking into place was quiet, but it carried. Almost immediately, the pounding started. Not knocking. Pounding. Mia, open this door right now. I stood still for a moment, listening. His voice bounced off the walls of the hallway, sharp, demanding. You cannot just kick me out like this. I walked into the living room, sat down on the couch. The pounding came again, louder. Mia, I'm serious. Open the door. I didn't move. My phone buzzed. One call, then another, then another. I watched the screen light up, his name repeating, call after call. His voice outside the door shifted from anger to something sharper. Pick up your phone. Another call. Another. I let them all ring. Then the messages started. You're acting insane right now. Buzz. Open the door so we can talk like adults. Buzz. You can't just ignore me. I opened the message thread. Read through them once. The pattern was exactly what I expected. Anger. Accusation. Pressure. An attempt to drag me back into the same cycle. I had no interest in repeating that. Another call came in. I declined it. Then I opened his contact settings, blocked the number. The phone went quiet instantly for about 10 seconds. Then the pounding on the door came back, harder. You think blocking me fixes this? I leaned back against the couch, closed my eyes for a second, listened. There was a rhythm to it. Rage. Then pressure, then escalation, right on schedule. A minute later, my phone buzzed again. Different number. I didn't even open it. Blocked. Then messages came through social media, Instagram, Facebook. Each one more frantic, more aggressive, then shifting again from anger to something closer to panic. I blocked those too. Within a few minutes, the phone was silent again. Outside, he was still there, still shouting. But now he was shouting at a door that wasn't opening, at a phone that wasn't responding. Mia, I swear if you don't open this door. The sentence broke halfway through. Then came the next phase. Threats. You better open this before I call someone. I stayed where I was. People like Daniel follow patterns when they realize they're losing control. First, rage, then pressure, then outside witnesses. Right on time. Fine, I'm calling people. I could hear him pacing now. Shoes dragging slightly across the hallway carpet. Let's see how your friends react when they hear what you just did. I glanced at my phone, out of curiosity. Blocked calls were stacking. He had tried more times. Then, an email notification. Then another. He had moved to the next channel. The first one was short, angry, accusing me of humiliating him, calling me unstable. The second one was longer, more dramatic. Words like betrayal, cruelty, throwing away years. I read both. Then archived them, muted the thread. Outside, his voice rose again. Mia, open this door. Then silence. For a moment, I heard the elevator down the hall open. A pause. Then his voice again, sharper now, less controlled. You're going to regret this. The elevator doors closed. And just like that, the hallway went quiet. I stood up, walked to the door, looked through the peephole. Empty. The boxes were gone. He had finally left. The apartment felt different, not quieter, just clearer, less crowded. I walked back into the kitchen, poured a glass of water, checked my phone. There was already a message waiting, not from him, from Melissa, his friend. One sentence. What exactly did you do to Daniel tonight? The message from Melissa sat on my screen longer than it should have. What exactly did you do to Daniel tonight? I read it once, then again, not because I didn't understand it, because I understood exactly what version of the story she had just heard. Melissa was one of Daniel's closest friends, which meant she usually got his version first. Edited. Filtered. Positioned. My phone buzzed again before I even started typing. Another message from her. He said you canceled the wedding, packed his things, and threw him out. Technically, that wasn't wrong. It was just missing the part that made it make sense. I leaned back in the chair, considered how much explanation I actually owed. Then I typed. Daniel told me he was staying at his ex-girlfriend's place last night and told me to deal with it. So I did. I hit send. Set the phone down. A few minutes passed, then it buzzed again. Wait, he actually told you that? Yes. There was a pause, longer this time. Then another message. He told me you overreacted to an argument. Of course he did. I typed again. Arguments don't involve announcing you're sleeping at your ex's place. This time, the reply took longer, almost 10 minutes. When it came through, the tone had shifted. He didn't tell me that part. I wasn't surprised. Daniel had always been good at shaping narratives, making himself sound reasonable, controlled. Another message followed. He's at Chloe's apartment right now. He's losing it. I stared at the screen for a moment. Chloe, the name he had used like a weapon the night before. Melissa sent one more message. He thought you'd panic, or call him, or beg him to come home. A small breath escaped me, not quite a laugh, something quieter. Instead, you canceled the wedding? Yes. The typing indicator appeared, disappeared, came back, then he really didn't expect that. I picked up my glass of water, took a slow sip, looked around the apartment. The space already felt different, lighter. Not because something had been removed, because something had ended. Neither did I. That was the last message I sent her that night. She replied once more. Are you two actually done? I looked toward the hallway. His shoes were gone. The bathroom shelf he used was empty. The closet space he filled was cleared out. There was no visible trace left that he lived here. Yes. Her final reply came a minute later. He's still freaking out. I didn't respond. There was nothing useful to add. Around 10 that night, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I already knew. I opened the message. Daniel. The tone had changed completely. No more shouting. No more accusations. Now it was long paragraphs. He said I overreacted. Said he only went to Chloe's place because he needed space. Said he never expected things to go this far. There was a line about how humiliating this felt for him. I read it once. Then I locked my phone and blocked the number. Not out of anger, just finality, because the conversation had already ended. Daniel made a very specific decision when he sent that message the night before. He introduced another woman into the relationship as leverage, not by accident, not in confusion, deliberately. He wanted a reaction. He got a consequence. The next morning, I returned the last of the wedding-related items that were still refundable, sent one more email, confirmed that only my name would remain on the lease. Then everything settled. Work, gym, home. Routine came back faster than I expected. Every now and then I heard updates through mutual friends. At first he told people I ended everything over nothing, that I overreacted. Then the full story started to circulate. Details filled in. Context shifted. Reactions changed. Looking back now, the strange part isn't how quickly it ended. It's how clear it became. That message didn't start a fight. It revealed one. Some actions are arguments. Others are announcements. Daniel thought he was escalating. What he actually did was end the relationship